Every single one of us has power inside of us, power to create, to change, to impact, to live fully. But most people never step into it. They live small, they play safe, they let fear, doubt, and the opinions of others dictate how far they go. And that's why so many live unfulfilled lives. Let me tell you something. The moment you decide to own your power, everything changes. Owning your power means no longer waiting for permission. It means no longer blaming your circumstances, your past, or your limitations. It means taking responsibility for your life and saying, I will not settle. I will not shrink. I will not hand over control of my destiny to anyone or anything. Because the truth is, you already have everything you need inside of you. You don't need someone else to give you power. You were born with it. Think about the times in your life when you were unstoppable. Times when you took bold action, when you trusted yourself, when you didn't wait for everything to be perfect but moved forward anyway. That's your true self. That's your power. But over time, fear, rejection, failure, and conditioning make us hide it. We trade our authenticity for approval, our strength for comfort. But deep down, you know you're capable of more. And the moment you own your power, you stop living like a victim and start living like a creator. Owning your power doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean domination. It means alignment. It means living according to your values, integrity, love, courage, compassion. It means using your gift to serve, not just to succeed. Power isn't about control. It's about contribution. It's not about how much you can take. It's about how much you can give while staying true to yourself. Here's what I've learned, that people lose their power when they give it away to fear, to excuses, to toxic people, to limiting beliefs. They let the outside world define their worth. But your worth is not negotiable. Your power doesn't come from titles, money, or recognition. Your power comes from within, your ability to decide, to act, to rise, to transform. And when you own that power, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone around you, because empowered people empower others. Your courage gives others permission to be courageous. Your authenticity inspires others to drop the mask. Your decision to rise shows others what's possible. I challenge you, stop playing small, stop dimming your light. Stop waiting for perfect, own your power. Stand tall in who you are, live from your values. Trust yourself, use your gifts, and watch as life opens doors you never imagined. Because the truth is this, the world doesn't need a watered down version of you. The world needs your fire, your strength, your vision, your heart. Own your power and you own your life. So many people spend their lives waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to chase their dream, waiting for approval from their partner, from society. And while they wait, the years slip away. Let me tell you something, no one is coming to hand you a permission slip for your destiny. The only person who can authorize your greatness is you. And the longer you delay, the further away that vision you hold in your heart drifts. When you were a child, you didn't ask for permission to dream. You didn't ask, can I imagine myself as a hero, as a creator, as someone who changes the world? You just believed. You played full out. Somewhere along the way, life conditioned you. You were told to be realistic, to tone it down, to fit in. What if the truth is that your very power is in refusing to shrink? What if the most dangerous lie you've been told is that you need someone else's blessing to shine? Owning your power begins the moment you realize that you don't have to wait. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about forcing your way. It's about courage. The courage to step forward even when your voice shakes. The courage to say, this is who I am and this is what I'm here to do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't step into your power, someone else will write your story for you. And the story they write won't honor your soul. Let's talk about human values here. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to act in spite of fear. Integrity means being true to yourself even when others don't understand. Respect, real respect, comes not from trying to please everyone, but from standing authentically in your truth. These are the values that make power sustainable. Power without values is ego, rooted in courage, integrity, and love. That changes lives. Imagine how different your life would be if you stopped waiting. Imagine if you stopped asking yourself, what will they think? And instead asked, what will I think if I let this chance slip by? Imagine waking up every day knowing that you are in charge of your destiny. That doesn't mean it will be easy. It means you will live with fire, and that fire is contagious. It spreads to everyone you touch. Life is too short to wait for permission to be yourself. People may not always agree with you. They may not understand your choices. But ask yourself this, would you rather live true to yourself and face resistance? Betray yourself and live a life of regret? The answer is obvious when you look deep within. The truth is, power is not given, it's claimed. And when you decide to stop waiting for someone else's approval and start living from your own truth, you unlock a freedom most people never taste. That freedom is your birthright. And it starts the moment you stop waiting. Most people live their lives pointing fingers. They blame their circumstances, their parents, their boss, the government, the economy, or even fate itself. And as long as they do that, they hand their power away, because the moment you make someone or something else responsible for your life, you've declared yourself powerless. Owning your power means doing the opposite. It means taking radical responsibility for your life. It means saying, no matter what has happened to me, I choose what happens next. Think about it. There are people who have faced unimaginable hardships, poverty, loss, rejection, trauma, and yet they rise. And then there are people who, with every opportunity in front of them, still settle for less, still complain, still wait for someone else to fix their life. The difference isn't circumstance, it's ownership. The moment you decide I am responsible, everything shifts suddenly. Victim of your past, you're the architect of your future. Responsibility doesn't mean blame. This is important. It's not about blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. It's about claiming the power to respond. That's what responsibility is, your ability to respond. You don't control what life throws at you, but you absolutely control how you respond. In that response lies your power. Let's bring in the human values here. Responsibility is about integrity, standing up and saying, this is my life and I will own it. It's about resilience, choosing to get back up every time you fall, because you know the only true failure is staying down. It's about honesty with yourself first, acknowledging where you've been making excuses, where you've been holding yourself back, and then committing to change. When you stop waiting for someone else to take responsibility and you claim it yourself, you stop wasting years. You stop living in the past, replaying what went wrong, and instead focus on what you can create today. Responsibility shifts your mindset from scarcity to possibility. Suddenly you see solutions where before you only saw problems. You start to realize that the same energy you once spent complaining can be redirected into building, into growing, into transforming your life. Responsibility isn't always comfortable. It forces you to face the truth. It forces you to admit that maybe you've been settling, maybe you've been making excuses, maybe you've been hiding behind fear. But here's the beauty. Once you own it, you can change it. If your finances aren't where you want them to be, you stop blaming the system and you start learning, creating, adapting. If your relationships aren't thriving, you stop pointing fingers and start asking, what can I do to bring love, respect, and presence into this connection? If your health is suffering, you stop waiting for a miracle and start taking daily actions towards strength and vitality. This is what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. Those who rise don't wait for rescue, they rescue themselves. They don't wait for someone else to hand them a better life. They create it. And the moment you embrace full responsibility, you reclaim not only your power, but also your freedom. Because when you own it all, you're free to change it all. There comes a moment in every life when you forget who you truly are. You get caught up in routines, responsibilities, and the noise of the world, and slowly you start shrinking. You stop dreaming as big as you used to. You stop believing in that fire you once carried. And yet deep inside you, there's still that spark, the part of you that knows you were made for more. Owning your power requires reconnecting with that version of yourself. Not the one the world tried to shape, not the one fear tried to control. Before life told you to be small. Think back to when you were unstoppable. Maybe it was in your youth, when you ran fearlessly into challenges. Maybe it was the first time you took a risk and it paid off. Maybe it was a moment when you surprised yourself with courage or creativity. Those moments weren't accidents. They were glimpses of who you really are, your authentic self before doubt and fear layered on top. Too often we bury that version of ourselves because we think it's unrealistic or we've been told it's naive. But the truth is, that's the real you. The world constantly tries to mold you into something else. Society says you should do a box. People around you might project their own fears onto you. Don't try that. It's too risky. Play it safe. Be practical. But when you forget who you are, you also forget what you're capable of. And the tragedy is people spend decades living like that, settling for less, dimming their light, living out someone else's script instead of writing their own. Human values come into play here. Authenticity, living as the person you truly are, not the mask you wear to be accepted. Courage, the willingness to step back into your true identity, even when others don't understand it. Trusting that the gifts within you were placed there for a reason, and that honoring them is not selfish but necessary. When you remember who you are, you begin to move differently. You stop apologizing for wanting more out of life. You stop playing small to make others comfortable. You start aligning with your real values, your real purpose. And that alignment gives you a sense of power and peace that nothing external can provide. Think about when you're living disconnected from who you are, you feel drained. It's like walking around in someone else's shoes. They don't fit, and over time the pain becomes unbearable. But when you live from your truth, everything changes. Decisions become clear, energy flows more natural, challenges feel lighter because you're anchored in who you are, not who you're pretending to be. The question is, when was the last time you felt fully alive? When was the last time you allowed yourself to dream without judgment, to act without hesitation? That version of you is not gone. Is waiting for you to stop denying it, to stop bearing it, and to start embodying it again. That's when you own your power. When you come home to yourself, when your life feels heavy, when you feel torn between who you are and what you're doing, it's almost always because you're out of alignment with your values. You make choices to please others, to avoid conflict, to chase approval, or maybe just to survive. But deep down, you know something's off. That's because true power doesn't come from achievement alone. It comes from living a life where your actions reflect what you truly stand for. Think about this. Success without alignment feels empty. You can have money, status, recognition, and still feel a void. Why? Because at the end of the day, you betrayed yourself. You ignored the voice inside that said, this isn't me. Real wealth, real power is being able to look in the mirror and say, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the choices I make. I'm proud of the way I show up. That's what alignment with values gives you: peace, clarity, and a foundation no storm can shake. Now, what are values? They're not just pretty words you hang on a wall. Values are your compass. They guide you when life gets chaotic. They remind you of who you are when the world tries to pull you in 1,000 directions. Integrity, love, contribution, courage, whatever your core values are, they're meant to be lived, not just admired. Here's the human truth: living out of alignment slowly breaks your spirit. You feel restless, disconnected, maybe even resentful. But when you realign, it's like plugging your soul back into its source. Suddenly you're energized, you're focused. You're not swayed by every opinion or temptation because you have a clear standard. Does this align with my values or not? Think of a relationship built without trust. No matter how much effort is put in, it eventually cracks. The same goes for your life. If your choices don't align with what you deeply believe in, no amount of external success will hold it together. But when your life is built on values, you become unshakable. Even in failure, you stand strong because you know you live with truth and authenticity. Tie this to human values. Doing what's right even when no one is watching. Compassion, leading with heart, not just ambition. Responsibility, owning your choices and the impact they create. Courage, standing for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular. When you live by these, you not only empower yourself, but you also inspire others. People can feel when you're authentic. They trust you more, respect you more, and are drawn to your presence. Living in alignment doesn't mean life will be easy. You will face tough decisions. Sometimes choosing your values means letting go of comfort, walking away from opportunities that don't feel right, or standing alone. But the trade-off is priceless. You gain your soul back. You gain the ability to wake up every morning knowing you're living as the real you. When you live aligned with your values, you don't just own your power, you embody it. Because power isn't about controlling others. It's about leading yourself with truth, love, and courage. That's the kind of power that lasts. Fear is the silent thief of dreams. It doesn't always scream at you. It whispers. It says, you're not ready. You're not enough. What if you fail? What will people think? And every time you listen, every time you shrink back instead of stepping forward, fear steals another piece of your potential. Over time, it chains you to a smaller life than the one you were born to live. If you want to own your power, you must break free from fear and the limiting beliefs that keep you stuck. Here's the truth. Most of your fears are illusions. They're stories your mind created to protect you. The mind isn't always your best guide. It loves certainty. It loves comfort. It hates risk. That's why fear shows up every time you reach for something bigger. It's not proof you can't do it. It's proof you're growing. Fear is a signal, not a stop sign. When you feel it, it means you're on the edge of expansion. The limiting beliefs are even more dangerous because they don't just stop you once. They become your identity. Beliefs like, I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve love. I'll never succeed. These are chains people carry for years. And here's the thing, they're lies. They're not truths. Interpretations of past experiences handed down by parents, teachers, or society. You weren't born with them. You learned them, which means you can unlearn them. Human values are the antidote here. Courage, the decision to act even when you're afraid. Faith, the choice to believe in possibilities bigger than your current reality. The ability to let go of the chains of the past and choose a new story. And love, because love for yourself and for your vision is always stronger than fear. Think about someone you admire, someone inspires you. They didn't get there by avoiding fear. They got there by facing it. They felt it and they acted anyway. That's the key. Not the absence of fear, but mastery over it. The same goes for limiting beliefs. Every extraordinary person you know had to rewrite their inner script. They had to replace I can't with I will. They had to prove their old story wrong by living a new one. Here's the question. What has fear already cost you? What dreams did you put aside because you believed you weren't ready? What relationships did you hold back from because you feared rejection? What opportunities passed you by because you doubted your worth? The cost of fear is not just discomfort. It's your life slipping away one moment at a time. The instant you decide to stop letting fear dictate your choices, everything changes. You realize fear is nothing more than a compass pointing you toward where you need to grow. You realize your limiting beliefs dissolve the moment you act against them. You realize the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the story you choose to believe. When fear shows up, and it will, don't shrink, lean in, step forward, because beyond fear is freedom, and beyond limiting beliefs is the life you were meant to live. That's where your true power waits. When you step into your own power, it's not just about you. The ripple effect is massive. People around you watch how you live, how you handle challenges, how you carry yourself, and whether you know it or not, you give them permission to rise too. One of the greatest human needs is to contribute, to matter, to make a difference. And the truth is, the best way you can empower others is by first owning your own power. Think about it, you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're hiding, doubting, shrinking, how can you inspire your children, your friends, your team, your community to believe in themselves? But when you stand tall, when you say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is how I choose to live, you light the way for others to do the same. Your courage becomes contagious. Your confidence becomes an example. Your authenticity becomes a mirror that reflects to others possible for them. This is where human values come alive. Contribution, using your gifts to lift others. Seeing in others the same struggles you've overcome and guiding them with empathy. Leadership, not about control, but about being the first to step forward, to show it can be done. Responsibility, not just for your own growth, but for the impact you create in the world. Here's what most people don't realize. Owning your power is an act of service, because the moment you refuse to settle, the moment you start breaking your own chains, you show others that they can break theirs too. People don't need more lectures, they need examples, they need someone who lives it. And when you live it, you become a catalyst. Imagine a parent who owns their power, who doesn't just tell their children to be confident, but models confidence through their own actions. Imagine a leader who doesn't just preach resilience, but embodies it when things get tough. Imagine a friend who doesn't just give advice, but lives with such authenticity that inspires you to strip off your own mask. That's the kind of impact owning your power creates. The beautiful part. Empowering others doesn't require perfection. In fact, it's your imperfections that often inspire people the most. When you're willing to share your struggles, your failures, how you overcame them, you give others permission to believe they can overcome too. Vulnerability is power when it's used to connect and lift others. Ask yourself who is watching you right now. Who in your life needs to see you rise so they can rise too? Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's a team you lead, or even a stranger who's quietly observing you. Your choices, your energy, your example, they matter more than, when you own your power. Remember this, you're not just changing your life, you're opening doors for others. You're planting seeds of belief in hearts that may have forgotten how to dream. And that is the greatest contribution any of us can make, to live fully, and in doing so, help others step into their fullness too. So here's the truth, you've had the power all along. Not the kind that comes from titles, money, or recognition, but the kind that comes from choice, from courage, from living in alignment with who you really are. You need anyone's proof. You don't need to wait for perfect time. The perfect time is now. Own your power by taking responsibility, by breaking through fear, by living your values, by remembering who you are. And when you do, you don't just transform your own life, you light a fire in others. You prove that it's possible, because power isn't controlling others. It's about leading yourself with truth, with courage, with love. And when you rise into that, you don't just create success, you create impact. you create freedom. So stop shrinking. Stop waiting. Step into your power fully, because the world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It needs the real you, the powerful you. And the moment you own your power, you'll realize it was never lost. It was waiting inside you the whole time.